because I didn't even check if if my mic is on properly. But yeah, I think it is. You can hear me good, right?
Yeah, it sounds good.
Okay, cool. Welcome everybody back to the Talking Games podcast. This is episode 5. I'm here with Ken Wall today, and we're going to talk some video games, primarily Xbox, Nintendo, and PlayStation. Many of you might have seen that there's been some rumors about Xbox being trash, Game Pass failing to meet its objectives, Activision Blizzard not being worth it, and investors being quite upset and Satya Nadella potentially considering selling Xbox in 2021. Apart from that, we also have all these cancelled PlayStation games. I guess you could say PlayStation's live service approach has taken an L on a massive scale, but we'll get into those details a little bit, in particular with games that have been cancelled. And Nintendo, if it's the launch the launch trailer was underwhelming, positive, good. From what we can see, people were not too happy. Some investors were not too happy either. And we'll talk a little bit as to why that is the case. But before all that, Kenwell, how are you? And have you seen the feedback from some of the snippets of Assassin's Creed Shadows with the all these lovely individuals who had a chance to play it? And I'll have you know, Ubisoft fucking ignored me when I tried. They sent me some bullshit ass message like, "Oh, you haven't done enough," but this was a while ago.
I doesn't have enough clout.
I know. I was like, "Wow, I made a video about your freaking game. I was being positive about it, but you don't do me like that. Maybe I should just join the grift. Maybe that's what needs to happen here. Fuck yes, fuck everything. You culture vultures."
I remember CD Projekt Red. I was like, "Yo, can I get Phantom Liberty early?" And they're like, "You ain't shit."
Not like you. Like, are you a rapper? You play basketball? Like, what you do? You're just a regular black guy. Fuck no. I've seen a lot of creators have been speaking about it, and they have good things. I mean, they haven't said anything, but the Reddit page, the leaks Reddit page has kind of said, they've hinted that like they're really happy with what they've seen so far. So Kenwell, are you excited about this game? Do you think the 3 months delay has actually done it some good? And do you expect new features? What's the story? What's your hype factor for this?
Yeah, I'm hella excited for Shadows. I was disappointed that it got delayed, but I just hate delays in general. But for this time, I really do feel that this delay was just to nail down the mechanics, give them more time to actually deliver on an experience that usually Assassin's Creed promises from the reveal, and then when we get it, it's like, this seems half-baked. I feel like with this delay, we're not going to get that. We're going to get the vision that they wanted with this game. And most of the time, when does Ubisoft delay Assassin's Creed games? I don't remember the last Assassin's Creed game they delayed.
No, yeah, you're right.
Which shows they really want to get this one. Obviously, we know why they're delaying it, because the game's not up to snuff yet. But most importantly, this shit can break the company. This can really put the company where it's like, yeah, we got to sell this. We got to sell this off. So that's clearly why this one has consequences. If this does not perform, this will have serious consequences to the company. So they better get it right. And I think they will, because this doesn't look like your average Assassin's Creed game. This seems like they put a lot of time in, and there was thought with this one.
The thing with Assassin's Creed is from playing Origins and then you go to Odyssey and Valhalla, it's very clear that Ubisoft is taking what they have, that core foundation, and they've been building up on it, which is great. But I think the issue that maybe some people can have is that, are they doing enough from point A to point B, from game to game, to differentiate and say, yo, this is a really great new experience? If you're a Ubisoft fan, you like all these games. However, if you're somebody who's maybe a little bit burnt out, there probably really isn't enough there for you to say, you know what, this is a great new experience. I'm having a great time. And I'm hoping that what this, at least what the feedback that Ubisoft has taken from the last previous games is, we want a tighter story. We want, we want a lot of content, but we don't want it to be a forced content. And we also need the game to be tighter. One thing I've noticed is just by watching the gameplay clips, and I'm talking about the fighting, it's a lot different. It feels tighter, it feels better. I'm watching the parkouring, it looks good. It seems like this is a game that they've really poured their time and I don't want to sound too corny, but time, heart, and soul into. So they've really refined the game a lot, and I'm really happy with that. So I think this is going to be a good game. Now, when this game launched, let's say if we release back in November, I think it still would have been a good game. But now I think we're at the position where it's going to be undeniable that this game is going to be quality. I'm very hopeful for this product. Now, would it save Ubisoft? No, I don't think so. I think it's the game that allows the Guillermo family to negotiate better with Tencent in relation to how much power that they're going to have or not. If the game does well, stock prices will go back up. Once that happens, the Guillermos will have a lot more power to tell Tencent, okay, you know what, thanks for the revenue, the investment, but we're going to still have a larger say in what happens with this company. But yeah, listen, I'm excited to hear that people are having a good time with it. I love watching the Assassin's Creed fan pages on Twitter and YouTube, because it's generally just people who are kind of excited about the game. As soon as you go to GameSpot's Twitter and all these other people's Twitter, it's the black guy. Into the whole toxic bullshit all over again. So I've just kind of stayed away from those channels. But yeah,
I've been hearing people that aren't into Assassin's Creed games saying they may check this one out.
Yeah, and I'm hoping so. I really do, because I think it is a really good opportunity here, even from a storytelling perspective, right? And one thing I have heard as well is people are happy with the story. They're saying the story is really interesting, and this, for me, could be the dynamic between a foreigner coming to the country and a native-born person into the country. We did hear that there was a multiplayer co-op option. With the delay, it's possible, I doubt it, but it's possible that could have been, that could have really helped this game. What do you think? Do you think it would have been a better situation if Ubisoft had potentially delayed it even further to allow the co-op option to be a day one release?
Nah, I don't think it's necessary, because Assassin's Creed isn't known for that, having like a co-op option. I think now the co-op mode, whatever they do with that, will come out closer to release compared to if the game came out in November. We probably would have had to wait probably a year to receive that, and by then it would have been too late, because the game would have been buggy. People would have probably dropped off because they had to fix all the bugs, get it to the level they wanted it to release in. So yeah. I think now with the delay, we're looking that this game mode will release close to the first expansion, because the first expansion leaked already. I didn't read too much about it, but I know there's some information. So I expect the co-op mode to release around then.
Okay. Yeah, I think so too as well. I think it's a shame that it's not that we're not going to see it at the launch day, because personally I think, listen, if this has co-op, I think you're going to get more people, which is what you want. You want those early numbers to come in to show you that homie's playing there, homie's friend is playing there. I get it. If it's not ready, it's not ready. The longer you hold this game, the more the cost of the game increases. So it makes perfect sense.
Hey, yo, question.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to Infinity?
Is that Assassin's Creed Infinity?
Yeah, remember, it's not a game. It was basically a platform, and this game was supposed to release on that. You remember that?
Yeah. So I think I think Infinity isn't ready. and I think we're gonna see it maybe when Invictus comes out. So at some point they're gonna launch it.
Okay.
From my understanding, or from what I think is gonna happen, is we want to launch it with the multiplayer. So I think it makes more sense to have the foundation down and have a multiplayer game to go along with it. So I think that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, because if the multiplayer is like Legends, and you could play the multiplayer mode without having the game, that would be sick.
Yeah, for sure. And I think what it also does is, if you have the Infinity and the multiplayer is there, which is what's going to attract people, then to kind of have the Assassin's Creed as a foundation there as well, it maybe makes it easier for people to click in and potentially purchase it. So it kind of acts as an advertising kind of campaign, I would say. Listen, I think from Tom Henderson that there's going to be a lot of more Assassin's Creed games, and I personally don't mind as long as they stick to the core. The mainline games are the mainline games, and the side games are the side games, and that's kind of it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to Ubisoft. I don't know. I can't say I'm looking forward to their future games because I don't really look crazy about it too much. And maybe Beyond Good and Evil was one that I was excited about, but didn't really haven't really had an update on that. But at least from the Assassin's Creed franchise, it's the biggest franchise and it's the most profitable franchise that they have. So I think that's where most of the fans are going to be primarily focusing on. But listen, Ubisoft was a nice introduction to the topics today. Let's move on to the next one, which is Nintendo. Now, I'm going to play something which is interesting on the screen, which is the Nintendo Switch trailer. You can see it, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah.
And this, for me, is a stark contrast to what we got. This trailer, it signifies a lot of things. There's interest there. There's people playing games. It's showing off Zelda. It's kind of encompasses the kind of people who would be interested in this. You're able to play a AAA blockbuster game, in the park, as you can see here. And the Switch 2's trailer was very, very different. There was no human interaction. There was no activity. It was just kind of showing you exactly what the Switch
no games
can do. Yeah. And that seemed to have some kind of pushback from different members of the community from what I saw. And I was talking to a few guys about this as well. And there was a level of disappointment in them. They felt that this just felt like a Switch Pro like upgrade trailer. So that caused some issues, which then led to the Nintendo shares dropping by I think 6%. Was it 4% or 6%? I'll put it to you first. Were you excited about the Switch trailer? Did it underwhelm? Were you thinking it's business as usual? Do you believe that what they should have done was something similar to what we're seeing on screen now? That you can actually see people playing games and having a good time. And one of the points that was actually brought up that I was interesting was an investor said that the problem with the Switch as well, the Switch 2, is that it didn't really have any new wow factor. It's just the same Switch again with better graphics. Maybe some little bells and whistles here. Anyways, let me stop talking. What are your takes on the Switch review?
First, I just want to know, did you see what I think it was a Platinum Games dev said about the leakers?
Yeah, he was like, "You motherfuckers!"
He was tight. He was like, "Yo, you should be covered in shit." I was like, "Damn, bro." All right, but we talk about it all the time. We've been talking about this day with the reveal of the Switch 2, that this is their safest console. This is one of their safest consoles. So I'm not disappointed because we knew that the Switch 2 wasn't going to be, it's not going to have its own lane anymore. There's a bunch of portable systems now, and I know we're going to get into this in a few minutes, but the Switch 2 is in a very dangerous situation for Nintendo because we have history. When Nintendo doesn't do something new, their consoles to them don't seem to do well. The Nintendo game with the GameCube and the Wii U, they don't do that well. When they have to compete with Xbox and Sony, then they run into issues. So that's what I'm worried about with the Switch 2. And I'm very interested to see how they're going to navigate with the Switch 2, because right now I see there's an article that's the reveal is doing better than the PlayStation 5. We all know sales isn't going to be the problem with this console. I think it's still going to do very well. Not Switch 1 numbers, obviously, because Switch 1 was an anomaly at the time when it came out. It was a revolution. It brought back, not a revolution, it was a resurgence of portable consoles.
Yeah.
And it set a lot of companies, it set up a lot of companies. Steam, ROG, I think that's Asus, right?
Asus, yes,
yeah.
you're right.
So that's the company. So it started a wave. It was a resurgence of this stuff. So the Nintendo Switch 2, I find it very hard it's going to do the same thing. And we've seen history rhymes. It's not exactly the same thing, but the Wii U is kind of like the Switch 2 is going to be, to me, at least a little bit like the Wii U, where it was like a weird upgrade to the Wii, but it's not really. It doesn't really feel like a new console. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. I'm going to doubt Nintendo. I'm still going to doubt them with the Switch 2 in terms of I don't think it's going to do as well as the Switch, but we'll see. I'm going to be very surprised with what they do. I think this is going to have to heavily lean on the software.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think that Nintendo is playing it too safe, that they should have done something different like they did with the Wii U? Or are we in a situation where, listen, the gimmicks just wasn't going to work anymore and the Switch 2...
Hold on, brothers.
Current...
Sorry, Ty. All right, we good.
Do you think that the Nintendo should have done something new like they did with the Wii and the Wii U? Or are we in a situation where, hey, listen, they can do whatever gimmicks they want? That was never going to be the best play. And the Switch 2, what we're seeing right now, is their best play.
That's a great question. I think that I still believe this was a great move by them, because if they were to do something completely left field, I believe that would force them to. You don't want to get rid of the Switch completely. Number one reason, the game library. You want that to cross over. That's the biggest thing in my eyes. That I was like, I love how the end of the trailer, it was like, yay, they made it clear that Switch games are still playable on the Switch 2. I think if they went left field and did something completely new, you erase the Switch history, and that's not a good move. You don't want to get too far from the Switch, which what we were talking about before the reveal, it boxed them in. You couldn't go too. They couldn't do something out of this world that no one could predict, because you can't get rid of the Switch. It was a massive console, one of the biggest consoles. It outsold the PlayStation 2 in the United States. So to just do something completely new, they couldn't do that. It would be wild. It would be wild to do that. So a more powerful version of the Switch 2, you just got to play it safe. They just had to play it safe. And I do think this is still better than doing something that's like a goddamn console that's just like completely different. You're using your mouth and shit to control the I don't know what weird funky shit they would do, but yeah, I think playing it safe is better. I completely agree with you. I was speaking to a dude about this, and his argument was that one of the reasons why he liked Nintendo was because they always did something different. And I said, no, that's some truth there. But when you play these Nintendo games, you like
Nintendo games. It wasn't really about the gimmicks, right? You played Mario 64, you enjoyed it for what it was. You played Mario Galaxy, you enjoyed it for what it was. You played Metro Prime, same thing. All these games is what made you fall in love with Nintendo, not really the gimmicks per se. The gimmicks might have got your attention, but you stayed for the games. So now that there's no gimmick, just stay for the games as usual. Mario Kart on the Wii was great. I didn't need a motion controller to play that game. Metro Prime Corruption was great. I didn't need a Wii remote to play that game. Xenoblade was one of the best RPGs ever released. It had no function with motion controls. I could do this all day. The only game that I've been told that the Wii control was actually really good for was Splatoon. And even that, you don't need a Wii controller to use Splatoon. You can just do a gamepad, right? Now, some people might prefer the Wii controller. Well, whatever. The Switch has motion controls. Okay, so if you really want to do that, then you can do it. So it's not that big of a deal. I expected analysts to eventually say the sales will not be there, which is actually interesting because I did this podcast with some of these guys before, and I told them like it ain't gonna sell the same, and they were like, "Nah, it's gonna sell more." And I'm thinking, based on what? Like, what are you basing this on? Just your feelings? Like this wasn't gonna be like what are we talking about here? Like these guys are in the same realm now as Sony. At one point, it's only gonna look at Nintendo Switch 2 and say, "Yo, Xenoblade 2 is coming out," and Shift Up wants to put it on the Nintendo Switch. But are they our competition now? Because if it's on that platform, it's on a console and it's also on a handheld, and we make consoles and a handheld. So do we block them now? I think someone's gonna have to make a decision there.
That's what I'm saying. And I don't think Nintendo wants to be in the crosshair.
Mm-hmm.
The crosshairs of Sony. I just don't think either of them really want it, but I think I think Sony is more prepared for that. Mm-hmm. Where it's like, hey, if these guys gotta if we gotta treat them like Xbox, we're ready. We're ready for it.
Yeah, I think Nintendo doesn't obviously want that, but even Final Fantasy remake and rebirth apparently is being made for the Nintendo Switch. There you go. Well, it's only when Sony wants to make that exclusive deal again. If it ever happens, I doubt it'll happen, but if it ever did, they're gonna have to consider blocking off Nintendo as well. But listen, the Nintendo Switch 2 has also been rumored to have a large port of Xbox games. From what I was hearing from Jez Gordon, that a lot of previous ports from previous Xbox games will make their way on the Switch. Also, new games will be appearing on the Switch, new ports. These are games that are upcoming for Xbox. We could do a fire off of what games do we think that are coming to Xbox that are going to be ported to the Switch. What are your thoughts?
So, I'm not trying to be mean, but do Japanese players really? I always thought Japanese players didn't really care about Xbox games. I'm like, do they even care?
Well, I would say
it's a good move from Xbox. Don't get me wrong.
All right, go on.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought my bad. I just wanted to add that before you were saying, but do they really care for Xbox games like that?
But you gotta remember, a large portion of the Switch's audience is in Europe and the United States as well.
True. Okay.
I think from a port. Okay, let's do a rundown. What ports, previous games that arrived on PS4 and Xbox One, do you think will be ported to the Switch? Let's make it. Let's do first. Let's do Microsoft first, and then we can move on to other third parties.
Okay, so Microsoft, and we're just sticking to their exclusives, right? Or the studios they own. Okay.
Oh, all the studios. Bethesda,
okay.
Studios, EBK.
So I think Starfield.
Ported to the Switch too.
Starfield. I think Starfield could go to the Switch too. I think that's a good one. I think Halo Master Chief Collection's another good one. I don't think the Gear series is good. I know what you just said, United States and Europe. I just feel like that game doesn't, because of the goriness and the grittiness of Gears of War. I just don't think it's. I don't think Nintendo. Not that they would block it, but I just don't feel like that would be good for their brand. I know it's just a port and they're happy to just get games on it, but I just don't. It's like, I always found it weird when Mortal Kombat was on the GameCube.
Really?
Yeah, because I was like, okay. I played it on the GameCube. I had no problem with it, but it just feels like it doesn't belong there.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that would go on it. What else? I think a game like Clockwork Revolution would go there. South of Midnight. Those are a few good games that can go on there. What's another one? Not Stalker. I don't think Stalker is really.
Yeah, I think they'll probably be hoping to put them all on PlayStation first.
Yeah. Is Elder Scrolls Online on the Switch already?
No, it's not. There we go.
That's a good one. That would be a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. Avowed. Avowed is another good one.
I think Avowed is gonna go as well. I think Avowed is a sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I don't think Fable can go there though. I think Fable's a little bit too demanding. I think Fable would be a little bit too demanding to go on the Switch 2, because it's still a PlayStation 4. It's supposed to be on the level of PlayStation 4, Xbox One, right?
Yeah, PS4
like a Pro. Yeah, like the Pro. So, yeah, those are mine. What do you think?
For me, Elder Scrolls Online, sure thing, 100%. There won't be any other game like that on the Switch. So, and it's a live service game, so it's just going to continue to incur revenue. Nintendo wants that, Xbox wants that. Fallout 76, 100%.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to port Fallout 4 to the Switch. I think it might make sense because obviously the TV show is there as well. Fallout 4 in a handheld form might be good, but I think it depends on just if there's a team available to do it. Maybe a team can reach out to Microsoft, not a Microsoft team, but a team for another studio can say, hey, listen, we can do this for the Switch. So I expect Fallout 4, Fallout 76, Elder Scrolls Online. I think pretty much all Xbox games are going to show up there. I expect to see Avowed, like you said, at some point. Maybe not soon, but maybe next year or so you might see Avowed being ported over. Expect to see South of Midnight be ported over as well. Expect to see even Hi-Fi Rush is going to make his debut there in some way, shape, or form with Xbox or with someone else leading that published. Stuff, and I think this in Halo. I think Gears and Halo is going to be there 100%. The reason why I'd say that is, I say that because Xbox is in a position where they want anything, and I think Nintendo would accept anything as well. If you look at it this way, Halo would be the only real the only real shooting game on the Switch that has legacy, brand, and multiplayer. So if you're a Nintendo fan and you want something to shoot, Halo is going to be where you want to go. And if you're a hardcore Nintendo fan and you want some interesting story, third-party combat, Gears of War is your game. I think there is a competition on that platform that I'm not saying it's going to sell amazingly well. Well, it's a niche that you'll be succeeding in, or a niche that you'll be providing to the audience, because there is nothing else like it. And The Witcher, listen, it's sold like 20 million for Xbox and PlayStation, and it's sold like 1 million for the Nintendo Switch, which is not great numbers, but at least it shows you that there are people out there who are willing to put these mature games on that platform, and you're going to be satisfying a niche. So for the Switch 2, I think Xbox is going to put everything there. Every single thing there.
You know what? Oh, my bad. Continue. I'll go after.
I'm pretty much. I was going to say that Starfield might have some hiccups. I think Xbox would love to do it. I don't know if the Switch 2 will be able to support that, but if it can, it best understand that Xbox will do it 100%.
You know what I forgot about?
Mhm.
Call of Duty. FTC.
Oh,
They confirmed they're going to work during the trial. Bobby Kotick said how they underestimated the Switch 1, and they are going to look to port in Call of Duty. And also, Call of Duty Black Ops 6 came out on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One.
yeah, exactly. So it should be
And also Overwatch.
Yes, correct. Exactly. Your Overwatch. Yeah, Overwatch is an easy one. Marvel Rivals as well is going to get ported.
Yeah. Marvel Rivals.
Listen, everybody, I think that the Switch should be by default. It should have the best launch lineup, and it should be the first time in a long time when all these developers who were previously on supporting the consoles are now back. I expect EA to also come back and put games like Jedi Survivor on the Switch, because it's a new platform. It has a large install base, and remember, everybody's trying to make money now. The margins are very thin. Everywhere. So this is not going to get. I would even go as far as saying that Xbox is looking forward to the Switch too, because in their eyes, oh yes, the margins are going to.
You're looking forward to the Switch 2 more than the next Xbox.
They're like, God damn, like man, like
about time.
Yeah, drop this shit, man. And then you can put everything there. Like you're thinking, like, yo, Fallout 76, revenue, like income coming in. They're thinking Elder Scrolls Online. They're thinking Diablo. We can get these Nintendo Switch suckers to be paying, $10, $12 for like these skins. This is it. They're gonna be in a very good position. So yeah, Xbox is looking forward to it. 100%. Yo, listen, let's shift gears now to PlayStation, and it's not very common to hear very negative news about PlayStation, and when you do, it gets really shifted back to Xbox very, very fast. But PlayStation cancels 2 games, including a live service game, live service God of War. So, as the statement is, in the statement to Bloomberg, Sony confirmed the cancellation of 2 live service games, one from Bend Studio and another from Blue Point Games. The one that Blue Point Games was working on was reportedly a live service God of War game. Sony also confirmed that while the studios won't be shut down, it wouldn't confirm whether these cancellations will result in layoffs. However, Sony is working with these studios to determine their next projects. Last year, Bend Studio confirmed that it was working on a new IP. It's unclear whether it's the new now cancelled project. Sony is a now cancelled project. Sony acquired Blue Point Games, which worked on the PS5 exclusive Demon's Souls remake back in 2021. The studio reportedly helped out with God of War Ragnarok from 2020 to 2022, prior to cancellation of his next project. PlayStation's live service initiative has so far produced mixed results. While Helldivers 2 experienced massive success and won many awards, Concord was a monumental failure, ultimately culminating in its permanent shutdown and the closure of developer Fireworks Studios. Okay, so I also have this other chart here that I'm going to put up, which is a list of the games that Sony has cancelled. I'm going to enlarge this screen.
Ooh.
There we go. And so first up is The Last of Us multiplayer, then the Marvel Spider-Man The Great Web, London Studio live service game, Twisted Metal, Helldivers 2, which has been a success, Project from Bungie, which was cancelled in August 2024, Concord, which shut down 2 weeks after, Sony's Bend Studios game, live service God of War game, Fair Games game, still in production, Marathon, which is still in production, and Horizon Online, which is a rumor project that is still in production. So Sony has really pushed this live service, project, and it hasn't been successful. There's a lot to come to tackle here, but the first one, I guess we just dive straight into the actual cancellation. What are your thoughts on these 2 games being cancelled? Why do you think they were cancelled? And did it make sense for Sony to make a God of War live service game?
I hate how they were canceled. I'm getting really tired of this live service initiative because I thought in the beginning they were fine with failure. Now, what I mean by failure is I thought they were going to be fine with, hey, if this game is mediocre, we'll release it and we'll know when to cut its legs. I didn't know that they were gonna be working on all these games and then we never were gonna see them. I think that for me, that's the most frustrating part. We know live service games, like I feel like the budgets for these live service games are, first of all, they're way too expensive, and they're treating them like they're each studio's like baby, where it's like they're delicate. This is supposed to be the one. Every live service game that Sony has greenlit and now has canceled, it just feels like they all had big ass aspirations. When I thought from the beginning they were okay that, hey, this one, it may last for a month. Okay, we'll cut its legs. Oh, this one may last for a year. And then if it fizzles off, we'll cut it off. We're gonna have failures. I could have sworn that was the strategy that they were doing, but now that we're getting a whole bunch of games that were rumored, we see leaks that they were working on it, and now they're just like, nah, you're not getting them. And I'm like, what's going on? Now it seems like because this is happening over and over again, you guys are panicking. You guys are panicking. Like, just to me, I just don't think Sony needs to treat these games as delicate as like they've been treating them. I think to me it comes off that they're trying to make these games hit like they're single player games. But they're single player games, it's a little bit easier to hit because of the production. There's a lot of things that appeal to
experience and expertise.
Yeah. But it's like, yo, with these multiplayer games, at the end of the day, you're competing with Minecraft, you're competing with Marvel Rivals, you're competing with Fortnite, you're competing with all these games. So again, what happened to what you guys, the plan originally? It felt like you guys were okay with these games dropping. If they were going to do good, cool. But it felt like you guys understood that we're going to fail with these. A lot of these are not going to make it out. And that's why we greenlit a lot of projects. And now it just seems the plan is off. And then to go back to your last question, that's a dumbass idea. Why would you put a live service God of War game? That's not very interesting. It's just mythology. What? I don't know why you would need to. You don't really need to expand the God of War universe. I hate when there's certain things that need to be expanded. Like I went to go see Den of Thieves 2 the other night, and I saw a trailer for Ballerina, the movie that's in the John Wick universe. It's like, why? Why do you need to create a universe for John Wick? It's I hate when these studios want to just create a universe for every single IP. No, it just needs to be one thing. And God of War is just not a universe that it's not an IP that demands a universe. Because the IP is Kratos. It lives and ends with Kratos. So I don't need to see anybody else, and I don't need to play anybody else in God of War universe.
Do you think that the reason why the cancellations, or we're seeing a lot more cancellations, is because of Sony's fear of Concord happening again? That's kind of like set them back a step, where they're thinking, yo, we dropped this game and it embarrassed us from a quality perspective. We had to literally like cut it off right now. And when Herman Hulse was saying we need to do more checks, is he looking at these games and saying, yeah, we give you guys a pass because we're optimistic, but the truth is we can't afford another Concord, so let's just cancel all these games right now? So do you think Concord had an effect on these games cancellation, or do you think this is always going to happen?
So I believe it did have an effect, because I think that's what Jason Schreier said in the article. But for me, it's again, why? Like I get Concord was a failure. But come on, are we really still talking about Concord, bro? You know what I mean? It's like, yo, just forget about it. Like, just yo, it was a failure. And it goes back to what I'm saying. I'm like, yo, you guys said you greenlit a bunch of live service projects because you knew a lot of them were not going to be successes. So, okay, Concord was a bit, that shit didn't see the light of day, really. But I get that. But you gotta just release them, bro. A lot of companies, let's look at it. Let's look at one studio. One studio's got a hit. A studio isn't afford to mess up with a live service game when you're one studio. But this is Sony we're talking about. And I'm not saying, again, and it goes back to what I'm saying, like, how much money are you putting in these live service games? Because they really shouldn't be, at this point, they should be max 100 million that you should be putting in. They should not be going over 200. They should not be coming close to your single player games. See what it is, come up with, at least have an infrastructure for them, and then when you need to leave. But that's what I'm saying. I'm like, okay, Concord, why is Concord having an effect on these other live service games when y'all said this, you greenlit a bunch of live service games knowing this was going to happen? You knew this was going to happen.
Do you think
again, that's what's frustrating me?
Yeah. I think from what I've seen as well, the pushback has been, hey, listen, you could have literally had all these studios doing what they do best, making single player action adventure games. Like right here, right now, you could have had a potential new game from Ben Studio that could have been an 85 Metacritic, 84, 90 Metacritic. You could have had a new game from Santa Monica, which would have been something different. But you keep trying to force this live service games for these studios. The problem is they're not equipped well enough to do with it. People also don't really want live service games, so you've just wasted time and resources when you could have provided us with quality instead. The question is, there's an element of Sony needs this and they need live service games to kind of take off, and it's where Xbox has them with Fallout 76, Minecraft, Elder Scrolls Online, etc. But this was a Jim Ryan initiative. This was his plan. This was his doing. Do you put the blame down to him? And do you now think Jim Ryan could have been potentially be the worst thing to happen to PlayStation from a presidential point of view? Not from the past. In the past, it was good.
Yeah.
Well, when he became CEO of PlayStation and he set in place his motion, would you agree, or maybe not, that he has been a detrimental force to the consumers and PlayStation's brand loyalty?
I actually don't think, I'm still riding with Jim Ryan. I'm still riding with him. I do like the live service initiative because you're literally letting your you're letting your enemies, this is a weak spot. Your enemies know where you're weak at, and if you're not trying to get better at it, this is how your company can crumble. Because we knew from what Sean Layden was saying, you keep making these single player games, they're just going to keep doubling, and the return, it's not going to be enough, the return. So I'm still riding with Jim. Who I'm looking at funny now after watching the David Jaffe video is Herman Hulst, because Herman Hulst, he was the one with Concord. He was the one who had big aspirations with Concord. And what David Jaffe was talking about is he took one of his people from Guerrilla, and I don't know her name, but she was appointed to Sony's portfolio. She like oversees it. So it's like, what are they greenlighting now? Why, like, what aren't they seeing? I'm thinking because I know it's Herman Hulst and the other guy. Herman Hulst is dealing more specifically with the games and the studios, while the other guy's dealing with the hardware of the company. But now this is, to me, it's falling on Herman Hulse. Like, he's just not, he's banking on Horizon. Clearly, because he came from Guerrilla, he wants Horizon to succeed, but I don't like Horizon as their mascot. I like Astrobot. I think they should, after playing Astrobot, I think that's a way better brand that can go way further than Horizon. So what is going on there? I think, to me, I'm starting to put the spotlight on Herman Hulse. I think he's starting to be the one to look at more than Jim Ryan, because Jim Ryan's initiative is a smart move. You guys weren't doing anything in that space.
Okay, I think that's an interesting way to look at it. Jim Ryan said the initiative itself isn't the problem, but it's the execution.
Yeah.
The person who has to execute is Herman Hulse. Okay, yeah, I can see that from that point of view. My next question to you is, what happens now with Sony? Are they in a position now where, because they potentially have, wasted time with all these live service games that didn't pan out, their roster is looking quite empty? So do they need to focus more on timed exclusives again to kind of shore up their defenses? Or are we in a situation where, they're looking at Xbox and thinking, you know what, you guys are multi-platform anyway. We don't need to really do this. Y'all giving us Halo? Y'all giving us games as well? Indiana Jones in 3 months? One more thing? Remember that? What do you think Sony does do now?
Now that you bring that up, maybe that's the reason why, instead of Concord. What if that's the reason why they wanted to cancel these games? Because they never saw that coming. Where, Xbox is going to just start giving us games like Halo. Because Halo has microtransactions. When Halo goes to PlayStation, doesn't PlayStation get the rip off some of the microtransactions from Halo? So it's like, that was a whole... Now, if you look at it that way, what if that's the change? Of course, it's Concord, but that could be one of the... That could be a hidden piece to all of this. Where it's like, maybe we just need to focus on the good ones that we're seeing a lot of progress on, the live action. Maybe we don't live service. Maybe we don't need that many live service games anymore, because we got a safety net now, which is Xbox. But yeah, that's just a theory. But
no, I think it's
what was
solid.
the question again? My fault.
No. I think that's a solid theory. We need live service games to increase our profit margins, especially with a competitor like Xbox, Microsoft, who is trying to take some market share of the console space. Now that competitor, Microsoft, has given up on the console space more or less, and they're porting their games to our system. So rather than us saying, hey, listen, the biggest game of the year is going to be, Call of Duty. Well, the biggest game of and on an Xbox side is going to be, whatever it might be Fable, etc. We don't need to worry about that, because that game is coming to our platform as well, and we're going to make a lot of money. I think it was 2014, 15, 16, whichever it was, where the only time when Call of Duty wasn't the majority profit holder for PlayStation was when Red Dead Redemption 2 did it, and also when Minecraft did it. So now Sony's looking at that saying, yo, this Fable game might be, this is a Fable game is for us, Every game you put on our platform is bringing us money in. So Sony, you're right, Sony might be thinking, yeah, we like live servers, we want to do this, but we don't really need to do this risk anymore now that Xbox has done this approach. I never thought about it that way. That's a good point. Yeah, that's a really good point.
That changes everything, because you
don't need to be as competitive anymore. They can take a step back and they can say, you know what, this means every live service game is going to be on our platform anyways. Xbox is going to put every of their live service games on our platform, and we can just keep focusing on what we do best, which is single player games. Okay. I think that's a good point.
Like you put that idea. I'm like, actually, Maybe it's not just Concord. But I remember your question. Go back to your question. I just think they gotta now. I think people are now waiting for their single player games. I think they gotta just come out with one of their single player games, like Ghost of Yote. I think that will reinvigorate like the Sony spirit, the hype again, especially when we get a full gameplay reveal. So I just think it's that for the most part, because we also have Wolverine to look forward to. That's another game. So I think it's more now. I think the shift goes to their single player games. That I think that will ease the pressure.
Do you think you're like Haven with Jade Redmond? Do you think they're in trouble now as well? Because they're thinking it seems like Sony might be a bit too harsh on live service games, and that studio was purchased specifically to help out with the live service initiative as well.
I don't think they're in trouble because, like what you said, they're used to fair game. I think fair game's in trouble because I think it looks a little bit too much like Hyenas in the finals. I don't think fair game's really going to do well. That's just my opinion. I know we haven't seen any gameplay, but from what we saw, the tone and everything, I know people say it looks like a Ubisoft game. I don't get that. I think it looks more like the finals. And then there's another game that was revealed at the Game Awards that also looked like the finals. But that's the reason why I think Fair Games is in trouble. I don't think the studio itself is in trouble because they're in a good area in the country. They're in, I believe, either Montreal or Quebec. So that has a lot of talent. Talented developers, and they're going to be used to, like you said, help with live service. Probably going to be a support studio in some capacity where maybe they have a live service game that needs a little bit of help, needs support. They could use some of Haven's people. So because aren't they using I could be completely capping here, but do they have some experience with the Decima engine?
Not about Decima engine, but they certainly do have experience. I don't think the team is
okay.
I don't think it's a first rodeo. Maybe it's Jade Redmond's first rodeo at live service, but I think they've hired the right people. I think most people also like listen. You said it yourself. God of War live service game like that was always going to be hard to work out. Even something like The Last of Us live service game that was always going to be a high budget game. So I think it's a bit easy to kind of look at some titles and say, I understand why this was going to be an issue. But, Haven seems to be making a kind of shooter-like game, which is probably typical and basic. Now, the problem with that is that it's going to be a typical, live service game, which is easier to make than a God of War live service game. You run the risk of it being generic, like every other live service game out there. So that way, it could be like Concord, where it just fails all over again. So I do think they have something to worry about. However, I think Sony, they understand that it's probably their best shot. I think it's going to be I think they understand it's their best shot, and I think the game is probably good enough anyway for them to keep proceeding. I do wonder if they're going to look at the guys who made Helldivers 2 and say, yo, you guys are the only ones who had a major success. How about we just grow your team out, give you millions upon millions, and you make all the live service games for us, because these are the motherfuckers of wasted billions on this. But listen, that's Sony for you. Do you think they're going to focus on single player games, which I believe as well? This is going to hurt them, at least hurt their portfolio in some sense when it comes to releases. They might use single player games, or they might use timed exclusives to mitigate that. We don't know yet, we'll see. At the same time, Xbox is more multi-platform. So for them, it probably isn't that big of a deal. But time will tell. The next point that we can bring up is the Xbox. Sorry, I'm missing something. Yes, I am missing something. Goddamn. Yoshida. He said, so let me put this up. So, remasters are necessary to fund new AAA, says Sony ex-president. I love how they say Sony ex-president, because it seems as if like Yoshida was like the president of Sony. That's not where he wasn't. Well, he was the president of the games anyway. Yeah, but yeah, Yoshida was one of the pioneers of the PlayStation, having been with Sony since before the brand's inception. He was present through Sony Private Entertainment, Worldwide Studios from 2008 to 2019, playing a key role in the growth and expansion of PlayStation. It can often feel like an excessive number of remasters and remakes are constantly being released. Once Dawn, The Last of Us. However, we've also seen countless successful remasters in the recent past. Yoshida says, sorry. According to Yoshida in an interview with Kind of Funny Greg Miller, remakes and remasters are increasingly necessary moneymakers that allow studios to create new experiences for fans. I joked about Herman, current CEO of SEI, sometimes making too many remasters, says Yoshida. I think the people who complain about that are maybe thinking Herman is doing that instead of something new. I'm sure these remakes are made by a dedicated different team or some important teams, especially the PC versions. So I don't think he's sacrificing anything by doing it. Single player games now cost so much, they need additional income by doing remasters and ports to PC, which he just explains. Remasters and ports are much cheaper to produce, create additional revenue, and create new users for the IP, especially when you port the game to PC. There is almost no downside to releasing remasters for Sony, except on the rare occasion where the remasters are not polished. So, this is Yoshida's take. And what kind of sent people into frenzy was this line here where he said, people should support Herman Holtz or PlayStation making remasters. And I think people are really looking at this a little bit differently from how I saw it. I think I'm seeing it the right way, to be honest. So basically, Yoshida says single player games now cost so much, they need additional income by doing remasters and ports to PC. Remasters are much cheaper to produce, create additional revenue, and create new users for IP, especially when you port the game to PC. This to me is very, very true. And what I take from this is that Yoshida is saying, I'm not telling you to buy remasters or remakes if you already have them. I'm telling you that remasters and remakes grow the brand and gives PlayStation more income. The more income PlayStation has, the more they can use that income to go off and make AAA blockbuster games, which is what you guys want. So when you say things like, oh, well, remaster this instead and I'll buy it. He's like, bro, we ain't talking about you. This isn't about you. We're making these remasters for whoever who's interested, and we're making them to make more money so we can give more budget to a Neil Druckmann to make his game. We can give more budget to a Sony Ben to make a game. We can give more budget to the Horizon team because this is what's funding it. And the example that I can think of is Minecraft. Xbox buys Mojang, and due to the success of Minecraft, a game that the hardcore doesn't want, but due to the success, you use that profit, that budget, to then go off and buy In Exile, Playground games, Compulsion games, Double Fine, Ninja Theory, etc., 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 and of course Bethesda. So something we don't like is actually funding our passion and pastime. I think that's what Yoshida is saying. But listen, I might be wrong. What do you think this whole article is trying to say?
I love the transparency, but let's be honest, most people don't give a shit. They don't care how the food gets made, and then they want to just complain about it. Let's be honest, like that's the problem. Like we knew. Like, I don't want to. I hate to sound like that guy, but they were saying this. This is what Sean Layden was saying years ago. That these things, they cost a lot of money to make, and I understand what you're talking about. Like, yes, corporations, they're greedy, they want more money all the time, but sometimes they want more money. Not everything they do is just for evil purposes. It's not just for greedy purposes. It actually has a utility. For our case, the remasters and the PC ports, they have a purpose, bro. Like, period. And if you read this article and you're still complaining about it, then I don't know what. Like, you got your own shit. Like, I don't think you're a reasonable person after reading this. And also, I don't think you're a reasonable person because you clearly don't know how games get made then. Just period. You want it one specific way, and the world doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So, and if you don't rock with that, then you do something. You have to go do something then. If you don't like it this way, because, yo, man, it's either you stop complaining about it or you want to support Sony. Now, for me, I'm not gonna buy every remaster. That makes no sense. I'm not saying everybody like what he's saying. I'm not gonna do it. I agree with what he's saying, the transparency. I like that. I'm not gonna do it though unless it's a remaster I actually want to do. And I don't think most people should do that unless it makes sense to you. But I don't want to see after this, if they remaster God of War Ragnarok, I don't want to hear complaints.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. I don't want to hear that. So yeah, that's all I gotta say. Like, come on now. He's being transparent. Most companies don't do that. So I appreciate what he had to say.
Yeah, no, same here. I love it when these guys, like, tell you the facts, and and then I always look at like people reading it and digesting the information, and I'm like, how did you get that from that information? Like, how did you like, he's saying this and he's going this way and you just went that way. How did you come to that conclusion that he's saying this or that? It's because people look at some of this information and use through tainted eyes. They want to be the star of their own story. They want to be the victim. So, he's telling me to buy this and buy that, and he's saying that this was going to happen, and he's like, well, how about you just don't make this product? Like, bro, just listen to what he's saying. Like, there's a reality going here where costs are increasing, and be very like it's very clear. This is not some CEO telling you this. This is literally the guy who's retired, who you all like and love, so he's not bullshitting you, and he's saying like, this is what it is. I ain't bullshitting you guys. You guys know I wouldn't bullshit you. So these are the facts of the situation. Everyone likes it. But Yoshida did say some other points, and I'm trying to remember what they were. He talked about potentially that if he was still in charge of PlayStation, he wouldn't have supported the live service initiative.
Yeah, he did.
Which he also joked, maybe that's why they removed me from the gaming side of things. And that to me makes a good bit of sense to some extent, because obviously Jim Ryan is the president and Jim Ryan's focus is specifically live service, and she goes like, fuck that, he has to go. You know what I mean? It's like, someone has to go. Everyone has to be on the same page. I don't believe that's obviously 100% why Jim Ryan got rid of him. I think there was a threat somewhat in the Game of Thrones, the whole political side of things. I think he was probably in the running to become PlayStation president, and Jim Ryan wanted to get rid of anybody who was in that run-in. So Lady had to go, and Yoshida had to go. Well, Yoshida got demoted as well, because probably getting rid of him was a little bit of a tall order because of his history with PlayStation and his prestige. But what's your take on that? If Yoshida was in charge, so they wouldn't have him on this type of route?
Yeah, if you never know, it's just the with him. I will say, I'm not saying the company would explode. I think the company would have went more creative. I think it definitely would have went more creative. I think we would have gotten less sequels. I think we would have had more smaller games. Astro probably would have came out way sooner than when we got it. So I'm not saying the company would have been trash, but I don't think it would have been as well regarded as how we look at Sony today, in terms of, they're gonna come out with quality games. When you buy a Sony product, you're getting quality. You're getting one of the best products. You're getting what you paid for. I don't think it would have been as well regarded. Like, I like to compare Sony as like kind of like the Apple, like the luxury. You're gonna get what you pay for, but that's kind of Apple that's kind of a bad comparison, but you get my point. I don't think Sony would have been as well regarded if he was the CEO. I think we would have been getting a lot of creativity, a lot of misses, but we would have been getting hits. I still think he would have been able to get hits because he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah. Yoshida is, for me, he's the legend of PlayStation, and he made PlayStation what it is today. Now, of course, there's the business side of things that he wasn't involved in, so he probably wasn't the guy who made the decision to put a disc player into the PlayStation or the DVD player, and these were obviously points that allowed PlayStation to actually grow large. But from a gaming perspective, the fact that he's been there from the beginning, monitoring his games, helping publish these games. He's the reason why you're playing the God of War Ragnarok, God of War 2017, the Spider-Man. He was instrumental in that PlayStation 3 era, in helping PlayStation claw back some market share, establishing them as the dominant force in gaming when it comes to AAA blockbuster quality games, which is extremely important. And listen, from a business perspective, I always thought it was a shame how he got pushed aside and was just focusing on the indie stuff. And he apparently, people said it wasn't a demotion. I don't know how you go from PlayStation Worldwide Studios president to indie developer support, like whatever that title was. That's a demotion right there for sure, 100%. But yeah, listen, that's some of the points that Shu said is really kind of funny. We do have the Xbox One to talk about. However, I gotta bounce. I have some things I listen to.
Yeah, I know. We almost got.
Yeah, I'm looking at the time. I'm getting messages from people like, "Where the hell you at?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm just talking to my friend," and they're like, "Friend,
you don't want to be on CP time. It looks bad."
Yeah, I mean, I'm just like, I couldn't get it before. But listen, anyone watching this, we'll be back and we'll be able to talk Xbox. That's a talking point. And I believe the showcase is
this week. Yeah. Yep. This week.
Okay, yeah. So the showcase is coming up, and then we can touch on it there as well. And because also, I believe Phil Spencer is going to be doing an interview with Destin Legary, and he's going to obviously have questions for him, so we can touch on those answers too. So we can just combine those two talking points together. And we should have earlier as well for anyone who so we can have enough time to kind of like spread the topics across the evening. Listen, thank you for watching. I'm your host Taye, and then Ken Walt is over there. Ken Walt, before you go, can you tell the people what are you working on and what are your plans for this year?
So I am finally working on moving from streaming exclusively on TikTok to YouTube. Finally, I'm making that big change. I'm going to focus more on streaming compared to the videos, but the videos are coming back, so stay tuned.
Are you making that switch because your government banned?
Yeah. Yes. I'd like. Obviously, that's in the back of my mind. But as I told you earlier, they keep banning me on some bullshit, bro. They censoring me. They're censoring your boys. So I got to get out of there.
You guys like slurs and the comments and stuff. Go check out Ken Walt's channel. To hear some controversial talking about Palestine and all these other things. Listen, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
All right, yo. Peace.